One of the most interesting things we will do in this class is to go on virtual tours of farms at my university. Today is our first farm tour, and it will be of the dairy farm. Although the farm was established primarily for research and teaching, it was designed to closely resemble private, for-profit farms. So the tour will give you an inside look at where your milk comes from. No two dairy farms are the same. They may milk different breeds of cows, use different feeds, and have different milking systems, but the basic process is the same. Although dairy farmers use different breeds of cattle than farmers who only produce beef, all dairy cattle are eventually slaughtered for beef. For a cow to produce milk, it must first give birth to a calf. The male cows will usually be sold to another person who will raise them for meat. My sources suggest about 70% of the male cows will be raised for beef and the other 30% raised for veal. Most all of the female cows will be raised by the farmer for milk production. Dairy cows will be fed forage, that is grass and hay, but will also receive a high-energy feed consisting of grains, legumes, and other ingredients. The cows will be milked 2 to 3 times a day in an automatic milking parlor. It only takes about 10 minutes for the machines to finish milking a single cow. On our tour, we will start with the pregnant cow, see a calf being born, and then observe what happens to the heifer, a heifer is a female calf, as she ages, is bred, and finally begins producing milk for human consumption. If you have never seen an animal give birth, get ready for an awesome sight. Let's go to the farm now. When cows are ready to give birth, they'll be brought to a pasture like this one here, where the farmer can keep a very close eye on. And the 3 cows you see here, they're going to give birth probably sometime in the next 2 weeks. And when they do begin to give birth, the farmers will keep a close eye on them, but they won't interfere in the birthing process unless it appears it's necessary for the safety of the calf or the mother. The first thing the mother will do after it's given birth is to immediately start licking her baby. And she may spend 20 to 30 minutes doing this. She wants to get that baby clean, dry as soon as she can. And once that calf is completely dry, that's when we take the calf and we bring it to a separate unit. We take the calf away from the mother for the health of the calf, because as we're going to see, the most important thing for the health of the baby cow is to make sure that first milk that it tastes has high levels of colostrum in it. And the only way to do that is to separate the calf from its mother. And since it's separated and the milk produced by the cow is used for human consumption, the calf and the mother will remain separated throughout the calf's young life. They may be reunited at a later point when they're both adults, but from the time they're born, the calf will only spend a few moments when its mother, then we'll whisk it away again to promote the health of the calf. I was fortunate to be on the dairy farm one day when a cow was giving birth, allowing me to film it on my iPhone for you. This is a cow who was in labor for about an hour and a half, though only in the last 20 minutes did she try hard to push her baby out. Immediately after giving birth, the cow will begin licking her calf to clean it. It will take about 20 minutes of cleaning for the calf to be dry. During this time, the cow will eat her placenta, and shortly after, the calf will try to walk. As soon as the calf is dry, the farmer will remove the calf from the mother. As we will see, this is to ensure good nutrition for the calf. Most cows have never actually nursed from their mother, so they can be a little confused about where milk comes from. And so you can put your hand right there and they start nursing on it. They don't quite understand. And that's one reason why we keep these cows separate from one another when they're babies, because if you put them together in groups, they'll try to nurse from one another. And when they don't find any milk, they'll get aggravated, they'll throw their head up, and they'll potentially knock each other over and cause a lot of stress. So we keep them separate from each other, largely to protect them from hurting one another. We also keep them separate to prevent spread of disease between calves, and so that when the calves receive feed like grain and water in buckets in there, we can monitor exactly how much the calf is eating, make sure they're in good health, make sure they're not sick. Now, this baby never actually nursed from his mother for a very good reason. All mammals, when they first give birth, their milk contains very high levels of colostrum. And colostrum is a fluid that's really high in antibodies. It gives the offspring a boost to its immune system. And its mother may have indeed had very high levels of antibodies in its colostrum but maybe it's not good enough. We want to make absolutely sure it gets high level cholesterol. So the colostrum that's in this bottle when it's first fed to the baby actually comes from another mother. A mother that may have given birth months ago, whose colostrum was taken, tested to make sure it's high in antibodies, and then frozen to be fed to a calf like this. And its real mother, they'll take the milk from it, they'll test it to see if it's high in antibodies the first day after she gives birth, and if it is, it'll be frozen and fed to another calf later down the road. If not, it won't be fed to a calf. For the first week, they have to drink out of a bottle, but after the first week, you can just pour the milk in buckets and they'll drink it just fine. And it'll get this formula milk. This is formula milk, much like the formula milk we feed to human babies, made from products like cow milk partially, soy, wheats. And they'll receive formula milk 2 times a day, 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. if you ever thought about working on the dairy and you won't know what the hours are. They receive the formula milk 2 times a day until they're 8 weeks old. Once they're 8 weeks old, they'll only receive it once a day. And then when they're 9 weeks old, they'll be weaned completely. Now, by the time they reach 9 weeks of age, they're basically ready to be weaned, because once this calf is 3 weeks old, in addition to the formula milk, they'll start adding grain and forage to its diet. Forage just denotes grass, hay, that kind of thing. Now, you'll notice that in these little house and yards, as I call them, that each calf has shelter, a dry area, plenty of straw, and this is something you're going to see throughout the farm. Everywhere you go, the calves and cows, no matter what their age, no matter what their purpose on the farm, they're always going to have shelter, they're always going to have dry, comfortable bedding. When the calves are 9 weeks of age, they're ready to be weaned, but they're not quite yet ready to go out into the pasture with the bigger cows. So there'll be a transition stage of about 3 weeks in this little pen here. So small pen, this will be the first time that they share the same living space with other animals, and so we want that first time to be alongside calves of similar age and of similar weight, and they're fed forage and they're fed grain. Now you'll notice, you probably recognize these black and white cows. You probably remember them from Chick-fil-A commercials. These are called Holstein calves. And if you look really closely at the tip, at the top of the head, you see the beginning of horns. Indeed, the Holsteins and most dairy cows naturally grow horns, but you remember from the Chick-fil-A commercials, none of the cows have horns. And the reason is we have to remove the horns. These are dairy cows that live in close proximity to one another, especially when it's time for them to go into the milking parlor where they're side by side. If we left the horns on them, when they got in that tight confinement, they would hurt each other and they might hurt humans. So we remove these horns when they're at a young age through a variety of ways, and you can do this with minimal pain as long as you do it when they're young and use antiseptics. And you can put a chemical on the bud and it'll stop the horn from growing. You can burn it off with a hot iron, or you can kind of scoop it out with knife kind of scissors. But as long as you do it when you're young, you give them some pain reliever, it's not that big of a stress to them. And it used to be at this stage of dairy production, this would be the place where we put low amounts of antibiotics in the feed or other type of antimicrobials. The dairy industry is getting away from that now. And on this farm, antibiotics are only given to cows when they're sick and only at a therapeutic level. And that has been the trend in the dairy industry. It won't be long, it's my understanding that it won't be long until most dairy farms don't regularly add antibiotics to their feed at any stage of dairy production. But of course, if the cow's sick and antibiotics will help them, then of course they're given antibiotics. Once they are ready, the heifers will be released into a pasture where they have shelter, pasture, hay, and nutritious feed. From about 3 months of age until 15 months, they will remain in the pasture with other heifers, rarely handled by humans. Remember the heifer you saw being born? This is her, number 752. You can tell she is treated kindly by the farm workers because not only is she not fearful of humans, but she wants to be petted. Once the heifer has reached 15 months of age, she will be bred for the first time. But you won't find a bull on this farm or on most dairy farms. Instead, she will be bred using artificial insemination, and Dr. Stein from the Department of Animal Science is going to give us a demonstration. Notice the long glove he wears. This is because he is going to stick most of his arm up the cow's rectum. But don't worry, I have done this before and can assure you it does not hurt the cow. Also notice the steel rod tucked under his right arm. At the tip of this rod is bull semen that he will inject into the cow's reproductive tract. Once his left arm is deep within the cow's rectum, he will attempt to locate the cervix and grasp it through the rectum wall in his left hand. Once he has grasped the cervix with his left hand, he will insert the rod, they call them straws, into the cow's vagina. And by pushing the cervix away from his body, the vagina channel straightens and the rod can be smoothly guided up the cervix. Once you do this several times, you know when the rod is at the cervix because you can feel the rings. Once the rod is at the first ring, he will manipulate it past all 3 rings, coming out the other side of the cervix. Once the rod is about 1/4 of an inch past the last ring, he will inject the sperm. And here you see him ejecting the sperm. Once she is bred, the heifer will return to the pasture, a pasture equipped with shade and shelter, where she will stay until she is ready to give birth at around 2 years of age. A cow will first give birth when she's about 2 years old. And the first 3 or 4 days after giving birth, her milk will have high levels of colostrum. Well, we don't put that in the milk supply. After the 4th or 5th day, they'll check the cow to see if the milk is free of colostrum. And when it is, she'll come down this aisleway for her first milking. As you can see, it's a rather calm process. It gives the cows a little exercise. And if these cows aren't milked, their udders will develop a lot of pressure in it and it'll stop to hurt them. So really milking, it's an enjoyable process for them. It relieves that pressure. And you can see they're very calm animals. And when she comes down for the first time, it will be new to her, but she'll have her friends to show her where to go. And it'll be a pretty calm process for her. I've worked at 2 dairies before, and I've seen a lot of cows go through their first milking, and not once did I ever see a cow act really scared or try to run away from it. When the cow enters the milking parlor for the first time, she probably won't be the first cow to want to come in here, but she'll follow the other ones. And eventually she'll follow other ones, make her way through here. Again, I've never seen a cow really get upset when they come in here the first time. And you can see in the pit below, that's where the milkers will be. And they'll be milked. It only takes them about 8 to 10 minutes for the cows to be milked. And then they'll release the cows, and the cows will exit this way. When the cows first come in, the first thing they're going to do is clean the udder of the cow, and then they're going to dip it in hydrogen peroxide. That's a disinfectant. And then they're going to manually inspect the teats and look at the milk to see if there's a possible bacterial infection. If it looks like fluid milk coming out, it's probably not an infection. And so once they've cleaned the teats, dipped it in hydrogen peroxide, checked the milk for bacterial infection, then they'll put the automatic milkers on and milk the cow. And after that's done, when the milkers have come off, they'll dip the teats in iodine to sanitize it once more. Once the cow is 2 years old and she's given birth and she's been milked for the first time, she is officially a dairy cow, a milking cow. And her full-time job is to eat, rest, and produce milk. And this is the area that she'll be kept in. You can see here we have a grassy area where she can eat grass if she wants, find a comfortable spot, dry spot to lie down. You might be surprised how little of the grass she actually eats because the cows greatly prefer the feed that the dairymen feed her, the alfalfa hay, grain, soybean meal. things like that. But they'll definitely use this area as a resting place. And if it's bad weather and it's rainy and they want to get out of the rain, then they have a shelter over here that they can come to. And in that shelter, they have sand as bedding. So they'll always have a nice dry spot under the shelter for resting. There's individual stalls to make sure the cows don't get too close to each other, because the last thing you want is one cow to step on the udder of another cow. And so you have those individual stalls to keep them apart from each other. But from the time she gives birth, for the next 9 to 11 months, she is a milking cow, and this is where she lives. Even though she's going to be in a confined area when she's giving milk, after she's done giving milk, this is her home. Plenty of open area, plenty of food, plenty of shelter, plenty of soft spots to lay down. Remember that the cow is about 2 years old the first time she is milked. And 2 months after that, she will be bred for a second time. Then, when the cow is 2 years and 9 months old, she will be removed from the milking herd and sent to a dry lot, where she will have access to pasture during the growing season, other food, shelter, and the like. After 2 months in the dry lot, when she is 2 years and 11 months old, she will be ready to give birth again, and then return to the milking herd. Once the cow has given birth about 3 times and has been through the milking cycle 3 times, she will be culled from the herd and slaughtered for beef. It varies across cattle, though, depending on how much milk the cow is producing and whether she conceives quickly. Cattle who have trouble conceiving and don't produce much milk will be removed from the herd earlier than other more productive cows. I hope you enjoyed the tour, but remember, there is much more to a dairy farm than what you saw in the tour. I encourage you to visit a dairy farm yourself. Most welcome visitors and will let you even milk a cow yourself.